Internet viewing world. Yo. Another video. So I wanted to talk about two kind of opposed, I guess, topics today. The first one will be about conflict. What's my stance on conflict and how do I deal with it? Point of order, I really don't care for conflict. Most of the time, I avoid conflict in any way I can. I mentioned in an older video that I haven't so much as been in a fight yet, and that's still the truth. Between me not being one to start crap in general, and me kind of being intimidating to some people, or so I've been told, I've never really been put into a situation where I've had to defend myself. Not that I'm looking for one, just it's never come up. And even if I was in a situation where I did have to defend myself with force, I'm not really sure I'd want to. Part of it is, well, the main part of it is kind of relating to these issues. I don't want people to hate me, and I would think hurting them would not endear me to them. And the other part of it is, I really don't, even if I don't really know much martial arts, I would just be fighting wildly. And fighting wildly, I would think, has as much potential to inflict like lasting damage as if I did know a martial art. And even if I did, I really don't want to hurt somebody. Like, it would bother me very deeply to inflict pain on somebody. So that's physical conflict. Other kind of conflicts that I've had problem with can just be simple disagreements. Hell, with me, it's kind of so bad that I don't really like even watching something like the presidential debates, just because most of it devolves into base arguing and insults, and that's not something I can stand to watch for too long. Go me, right? So if other people are like me and they tend to avoid conflict at all costs, yeah, it keeps you safe, but life isn't really about being safe, as far as I've seen and as far as I've experienced. Admittedly, not that much, but from what I've seen, safe is boring. You're not really existing if you're staying safe, or you're not really living if you're staying safe. You're existing. Conflict, I believe, gives other people a chance to show what your personality is. If you're the kind of person who meekly backs down from any altercation, or say you're in an argument, or say you're in a discussion and you just blindly agree with whatever your opponents or whatever your discussion partners are saying, that doesn't really tell them anything about yourself. That just says that you're kind of a yes man. And at best, again, it doesn't really paint a very clear picture of who you are as a person. And at worst, that just gives people grounds to walk all over you. And being walked all over is a pretty big fear of mine. Part of the reason why I isolated myself so much. Again, based on my appearance, like my size and my kind of stony face, I've been kind of lucky and blessed to avoid any situation to get into a physical fight to this point, but it's going to happen, and I have to be prepared to defend myself. I want to believe that most people are in general good and rational, but I can't predict people, and I need to be prepared if something does pop off. So I am getting a bit used to that, and that's what I want to offer to others who, maybe due to anxiety or depression, they don't stand up for themselves, or they try to avoid conflict, or they just let people have their way with them. I'm not saying conflict is the best way to get people to know you better and to know other people better, but it is one way. Once people see what you're willing to stand up for, it gives them something to go on. If you're not willing to stand up for anything, let alone yourself, then people don't really know that much about you, and what little they do know isn't very flattering. So that's about my stance on conflict. Now, the second point that I wanted to get to was bonds. How do I personally cultivate the bonds that I've formed? I do a pretty bad job of it. Well, I'm getting a bit better. One of the easiest ways to cultivate bonds is just to talk. It doesn't even have to be about any personal or heavy stuff. Just talking with each other, spending time with each other. What I've recently taken to heart and what I'm trying to implement in my life is just doing activities or going to events with people. And it doesn't even have to be... See, the thing that I'm just now learning that's probably common knowledge to people that are normal is that when you're going out to do stuff with your friends or your family, the event itself matters less than the time you're spending with your loved ones. And that's a point that I'm just now learning. Because a personal thing with me is that I practically never invite anybody to do any events. One of the reasons, as I may have mentioned in a previous video, is that since I personally haven't experienced much, I wouldn't really know what to invite other people to do. My knowledge base is pretty limited on events and things that people do for fun. Another reason that I'm recently coming to grips with is that I figured that people would have far better uses of their time than spending it with the likes of me. But both of those points, I'm very, very slowly but very surely being able to overcome. And I am starting to spend time with people doing events that I personally wouldn't have pegged as things that I would enjoy. And I do enjoy them. Mainly because I am spending time with these people that I've grown to love. But yeah, I would think that's the main way to cultivate bonds. You never know you never know where you stand with people until you start talking with them and until you start getting to know them. They'll make it clear if they consider you an annoyance, or if they consider you a bother, or if they don't want to get close with you. Most people aren't so... They aren't that good of an actor, and they aren't that like altruistic, like pitying, to spend more time with you than they want to, just to make sure you don't feel bad. Most people will send a pretty clear message if they don't want to consider you a friend or anything closer than that. So my advice, and it's advice that I'm very learning myself, is that when people repeatedly show you that they care about you, just accept it. That's a bond, and bonds are what make life interesting. A lot more interesting than it could be by yourself. And I know how hard it is to build bonds with people, especially if, like me, you've told yourself for the longest time that you're unlovable. But there are people out there that will love you. This world is too vast and there's too many different viewpoints and personalities for you to feel that you're unlovable by everybody. In my case, I've been very blessed and very fortunate to chance my way into a place where I've met some of the greatest people and some of the greatest people I've ever met. And these people have become my family. But it happens to me. It's happened to me, and it can happen to you. It probably has already happened to you, and you're still in shock about it, or you still don't want to believe it. You're wondering when the other shoe will fall. But just cultivate the bonds. Show interest in other people. Spend time with other people. It is well worth it. Kind of a short video this time, but that's my stance on conflict and my stance on bonds. Both of them are essential to your development in their own ways. And I will see you later. Peace.